Hey, workshop students. All right, I'm going to start another one here. If you've been working on getting ready for the final, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've done 4 videos. You don't have to watch them in this order, but I'll do the 5th question I had. It's about number 14, so I'll just put number 14 here. Let's read it together. It says a system consists of 2 objects. Okay. Object 1 is located a distance of 7.21 meters away from the center of mass of the system. All right, let me make a little dot to represent the center of mass. I suppose they don't say which way it is, so I'll just do towards the right here, and I will call this then object number 1. And that this distance here is 7.21 meters. Okay. So that's what this first one says. Object 1 is located 7.21 meters away from the center of mass of the system. Now, object 2 is located 4.73 meters away from the center of mass. Now, again, they don't say which way. However, if we want to stop and kind of study center of mass for a moment, it has to be the other direction. And it also has to be more massive. And so if I call this mass 1 and this mass 2, I know that M2 is greater than M1. Because, maybe I'll put in a distance here first. 4.73 was the number. Okay. So there's my center of mass stuff. Okay, so now our equations for the center of mass, and I'll just do one dimension, x of the center of mass, because there would be a matching one for y, center of mass, okay? But center of mass says take and add up what you might call a weighted average. So that means take the mass and its position and add it up over how many objects you have. And in this case, we only have 2, so I'll just say from I equaling 1 to 2. And then divide by the total mass. That is the position of the center of mass. Okay? So if you only have 2 objects, and you can put the origin anywhere you want, if you think about placing the origin at the center of mass instead of maybe at one of the objects, but that's fine too. But I want you to be able to see what I was just saying here. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'll put a grid. I like to do my grids in green. So if we sit down to do the math, we have to pick a grid. But if I pick the grid to be that center of mass, then by definition, you have just said that the position of the center of mass is 0. That's your definition of where 0 is. It's at the center of mass. And of course, what's nice about that is when you bring the m to the other side, you still get a 0. And so this is saying m1 and its position plus m2 and its position must come out to be 0. So that means 1 has to be positive and 1 has to be negative. That's why I was saying, hey, if it's one direction, then the other mass has to be completely in opposite of direction, one positive and one negative. Okay, now the other thing is you can see that the one with the smaller distance has to have the bigger mass in order for this product here to be equal and opposite to the product here. So again, that's why I said I got to put it in the opposite direction, and I know that M2 has to be greater than M1. Okay. So let me come back here and finally get to the question. The total mass of the system is 8.05. What is the mass of object 1? Okay, so I'm going to put a little dotted line because that last part just gave me an important information that M1 plus M2, the total mass, was 8.05. And let me go ahead and put in my positions now. I'll put in a 0 and mass number 1, I don't know. But I know number 1 has a position of 7.21. Mass number 2, I don't know, but I know it has a position of negative 4.73. And if I move it to the other side, it becomes a positive 4.73 M2 equals 721 M1. I guess if I divide both sides by 4.73, so 721 over here divided by 4.73 gives me about a 152. So 152 M1. Okay. And of course, what I'm trying to do is solve a system of equations. I have one equation over here that's got two unknowns, M1 and M2, and I got another equation over here that has an M1 and an M2. So I'll use that to feed back into here. So M1 equals, or M1 plus M2, which equals 1.52 M1, 8.05. And now if I add these two together, that'd be 2.52 M1 equals 8.05. And then finally, I can get M1 by taking the 8.05 and divide it by the 2.52, and I get 3.19. And then, of course, once I have that, I can put it into here or to here or here, wherever I want to put it to get M2. I'll just put it here. So times 1.52, and it looks like then M2 is going to be 4.86. And then coming back to the question says, what is M1? So M1 would be 3.19, and sure enough, there's the answer. Okay. Hope that was helpful to someone. Take care.